Y'all hear me? Good evening, everyone. How y'all doing? How y'all doing? Awesome. I feel really good and honored and blessed to be here. Thank you to everyone that put this together. A special thanks to Elizette for inviting me and to be here today. And I just want to say I was some amazing poetry before me. You really reminded me of being back in college. As a poet, that's how really I got my voice, I would say. I always used poetry as a form of, as an outlet, and in college I would go to different events and say my poetry, so that just reminded me of college at UMass Amherst where I went. And I want to add to the raffle, so I am a poet and I wrote this book, Essence, Tones, Whispers, and Shouts, and I will gladly raffle it off and hopefully someone will enjoy this book. So, as a poet, what I plan to do and hope to do today is to paint this story through poetry. And I started with Glory because, anyone else like that song weird? Okay. It just gives me that vibe and that feeling of, feeling empowered and knowing the history that we carry. So I wanted to start with that, and throughout this message, I'm going to put in my poetry and hopefully paint and echo our ancestors' song of hope. So I understand right now that as a people, we are hurting through this world that we live in, especially as someone with African roots. I know that it can be hard. So I'm going to start at where we're at and hopefully go to where we can go. As a people, we have endured inequality, hardships throughout history, from slavery to wealth and disparity, discrimination, poor schooling, underemployment, standardized tests, school to prison, pipeline, mass incarceration, housing segregation, racial profiling, and the list goes on, unfortunately. And as the young folks here know, as you get educated, you begin to understand that it's not just by chance that the disproportionate number of disadvantaged people from this are brown and black individuals. And you start to begin to understand that it has been a structure that has been woven throughout history, sometimes very blatant, and other times just right to disguise our eyes. So, feeling this that we all feel right now, as an artist, I really felt suffocated. So this was the catalyst to the first poem that I'll share with you, and this was me seeing our brothers and sisters just dying on our screen, and I felt like I needed an exhale for hope. Mother Earth's piercing cry echoes around the world, shaking our conscious core. Future windows shattered, broken family trees, blood-stained roots. Category 25, violent earthquake. Devastating loss of another son, daughter, ihu, iha, mommy, papi, little brother, sister, tio, tia, auntie, grandma, niece, nana, nephew, friend, amiga, mentor, prima, tio, tia, teacher, neighbor, student, loved one. Open our eyes to this epidemic, church bells ringing, ancestral calling an end to this barbaric civil war, subsiding in our living room, too close to the screen, a blur, countless names and faces, TikTok Ferguson, TikTok Stanford, TikTok New York, TikTok Cleveland, TikTok Baltimore, TikTok your block, over society Dropbox ready to pop. 1,000-pound life weight, earth fell sides, media lies, broken integrity spine, value and property over lies, illogical laws tearing away our humanitarian cloth. Each shake, tremor, and sound more urgent than the last, calling on our societal leaders to unpress the privileged mute button and hear reality's truth, as I can only hold Goliath's chokehold. For another explosion that I can't breathe, forcing another swallow of society's toxins locked in, hoping to find an exhale for hope. So it kept raining, y'all. Drip, drop, thump, thump. My heartbeat spoke with the rain, exchanged emotions, explained I could no longer take this downpour to talk of society's toxins, torrential rain of pain, violence, and war, disrupting my core, vibrating my soul's seafloor, hoping for a tsunami of love, hope, equality to restore, wash away all the isms along our seashore, with every wave creating a new path, eroding hate's residue of our stained past, demolishing walls of pride and deceit, cracking down corporate foundations, unearthing political agendas, planting peace partitioners, allowing new grass to form, seeping in every Pablo village, underdeveloped, poverty-stricken, rich-rooted, culturally vibrant flower to grow, to full bloom under a new moon of humanity's evolution, restoring restorative justice, drop by drop, heartbeat by heartbeat, till all is full. So the theme for today is a road to a beloved community, courage to change. So when I thought about that, the first word that came to mind was faith. Because faith was a big part of MLK's life, as we all know. He studied theology and then became a minister. But I don't see faith as a noun. I see it as a verb, as an action, and that there's power in this word. And as Martin Luther King exemplified, there's power in this belief, and there's a power in oneself, and the believing that we are all greater. And I see this as a synonym to King, that if we have a strong foundation, despite what storms may come around, we can remain standing. And faith is another reason and part of the why the nonviolence resistance was successful. There's a quote that I absolutely love, and it's by one of the poets I also admire, Maya Angelou. Anyone here Maya Angelou poets fans? I know you guys some of your poetry reminded me of her. As I come today, I come as one, but I stand as 10,000. I come as one, but I stand as 10,000. And I think this really resonates with Martin Luther King and his philosophy, because you have to feel like you have our ancestors with us. Every time I perform, I feel like I'm here as one, but there is Harriet, there's Martin, there's a lot of people behind me. So I think that's what we need to believe and carry, that I carry, as well as we carry. We carry your legacy, your courage, your perseverance, your hope, and that we are actually the seeds. In this room, I see a lot of beautiful faces, and these are just seeds that are being planted of future leaders to come and blossoming in our truth. So the next poem I'll share, this is really old. I wrote this in 2009 when they asked me to speak for an MLK event. But it goes to this theme that we carry within us, this legacy. I know that greatness runs through me. I know there's a Martin Luther King in me. Way before the explorations of lands created maps and compasses by European men, our people roam their land with dignity. As I stand here today, I can only imagine what others that came before suffered and endured as they were wiped away from their shores in bloodshed wars. They were put in bondages made to lay in airtight parameters, shipped away from everything they knew, as their history and family trees were shattered away, similar to the ocean waves, having to start in a new plantation in a racist nation with whips and chains and labeled and blinded at the audacity to want to read and write and be free. Hope seemed like something of the past, and slavery and racism grass seemed like the only thing that would last and last. But still I know greatness runs through me. From the first African that stood up with their heads up high, and the countless slaves that stood up with pride. They sent this message to their sons and daughters that greatness runs through me. And as the great-great-granddaughters were able to see unsegregated schools and universities in their name, Martin Luther King was able to articulate it well as he spoke in front of thousands, and he used his nonviolence theme to achieve his dream. He sent this message to young boys and girls: we come from greatness, and you too will grow one day to become a lawyer, doctor, teacher, and even a president one day. I know that greatness runs through us, and as we realize that we have become, many generations before Martin Luther King and others after him understood this message, that greatness runs through our veins despite what others may say. Knowing this makes our possibilities endless. That's why I'm proud to say greatness runs through me. I know there's a Martin Luther King in me because I know greatness runs through us. I'm not used to having a PowerPoint going into this, so I gotta remember to put the slides for y'all, because it took me a long time to get these pictures right. So this road to the beloved courage to change. Now, as I look through this room, I know there's multiple generations: Generation X, Generation Z, Generation Y. But I'm gonna propose to y'all a new generation today. Generation P, or in other words, Generation Peace. And as part of this generation, we create a love army. Martin Luther King is not here today, but his message and vision is still alive as our heartbeat that runs through us. So this Generation Peace, I want a love army with the lion's roar of social justice and a songbird's hum of humanity. What does that mean? That you are unapologetically loud and passionate about social justice. But on the same note, you see the humanity in your brother and sister, because regardless of what box you check, when you're checking those boxes, we all fall in that circle called the human race. So there needs to be this balance. An army willing to restore a nation cracked by blatant racism, jagged sexism, asphalts of inequality. An army worth raising our moral conscience and creating educational rebirths that sing gospels of our truth. An army that would increase and create a culture and system of care based on principles of nonviolence. And as part of this army, we need soldiers. Now, not your typical soldiers, SOULJOR, soldiers of love. Soldiers that are willing to do the work of the soul searching. Because when we really think about the nonviolence army that Martin Luther King created, they really were some soldiers of love. To be able to have someone call you the N-word in your face or to spit in your face, that is resistance. Because as we all know, it's so easy to go back and say something or to hit somebody, but to be able to say, I'm strong enough in my core that you're the one that has an issue, that takes a lot of strength. And I'm just gonna divert for a second, but I wanna put a plug for the institution that I'm with. Bristol Community College does offer a free course on Martin Luther King and his speeches, and they do it every year. It's 5 weeks that they meet 5 times, so I just thought of that real quick. But if you want to know more about that, because in that course we talked about that. You know, we say that we're not violent, but really to think about what that meant, to really stand and have that resistance to control yourself. And that's why I thought about that course, and I'm bringing that up. So we really need these soldiers. And in order to have that kind of strength, you need to have armor. You can't go out there with no armor, because otherwise it's going to be really easy to retract back to a place that you feel comfortable or safe. So this is the armor I put. And I put this armor on every day. I put my armor on today. 7 layers invisible to the human eye, connecting ground to sky. Well equipped with gratitude, fear-proof. Shield of fate with the weight of love. I put my armor on today. My belt of truth. Solid gold field, expanding the world, connecting with the sun, reminding us that we are one. I put my armor on today, my victor pants, reminding me of my authority. My victim pants no longer fit, burdened with a past that no longer serves me. I put my armor on today, my feel-good shoes of peace, love cushions grounding me, connecting me to my source, thanking Mother Earth. I put my armor on today, my crown of salvation, my illuminating jewel of life, righteously guiding my thoughts. I put my armor on today, my last essential piece, my spirit sword, equipped with the power of prayer, divinely guiding me to light. So one thing when I think about Martin Luther King and what made him stand out, I think of the word excellence. Because I think sometimes it's dangerous to immortalize him or just see him as a martyr. Yes, undoubtedly he was a hero of our time, but oftentimes I think we might minimize his vision as someone that had a dream. But he also was a human, and he had fears, he had doubts. I recommend a documentary, Martin Luther King in the Wilderness, and it really spoke to his last years. It really spoke to how challenging it was when he came to the North, because some people don't know this, but he actually moved his family to Illinois, and really he was all about not only the laws, but also the economic structures that were in place. So he wanted to come here and help those in the North. So he moved to Chicago, Illinois, and really got to see some of the slums and what poverty, which still exists, is, and how that impacted that. So it really gives you a different, I think, picture of Martin Luther King and the challenges that he faced, and that it wasn't always as just I have a dream speech predicts. So with the term of excellence, he really valued education. He graduated from high school at the age of 15. So he was definitely burning that midnight oil, as they say, and really hit the books hard. At 19, he graduated from Morehouse. At the age of 35, he had a PhD in theology. So that says that he was not just going to settle for subpar. He wanted to know his stuff inside and out. So I just really wanted to, being in an institution, stress the fact that he really excelled in all areas, including academics. At the age of 33, he got the Man of the Year award from Time magazine. And at the age of 34, he was the youngest man to win the Nobel Peace Prize. Okay? So again, a man that had, same human beings. At one point, I believe around 12 years old, he jumped from a window because he felt so bad. His maternal grandmother had passed away, and he felt like he had some sort of blame to it. So he passed away. He was fine, but that says, just like us, we have times that we feel like, the world is just, that black cloud is over our head. But that didn't let him stop him. And one of the ways he knew how he could get there was through an education and determination to be excellent. In his speech, he actually had a speech to high school students in Barrett High School in Philadelphia. And he asked the question, what is the blueprint of your life? And I really thought that was an interesting question. And I see that as, what is your foundation? So what I'll ask you today, are you creating a foundation of excellence here at this institution? Are you striving to be the best that you could be? is your blueprint of excellence? Not that thing. So, if not us, then who? If not now, then when? As I think about that question in the world that we live in, it's very easy to be complacent. It's especially easy to be complacent when you're not suffering to say it's those folks over there, right? But there's a danger in complacency. And when I see that as unused energy, kind of like physics. There's potential energy. So everyone in this room, if you're being complacent, that's energy there that could be used, but chosen not to. So how do we maximize our potential and our energy to do so? And to me, that equals to standing up for something. Because also in physics, and I'm no physics person, but what I do know is to change something, it needs an equal or opposite reaction, right? So we need to have an equal or opposite reaction with our love to this hate that's in this world. Because it's not going to change unless we are all doing our part and maximizing those efforts. And how do we do that? I think I'm not here to prescribe to anybody how to do that, but in my humble opinion, I think it's those little things. It goes in the spectrum from how you interact with others. I feel sometimes people are just mad for no reason. They're just mad. I woke up, it's raining, I'm mad. Let's just change that. A smile goes such a long way, right? You're in a class with probably 25, 30 people, and you may leave there and not even take the time to say, let me connect with that person. I don't know who she is, but maybe I'll learn something. That's the beauty of college, right? I remember having my college roommate, and she was from this other, I had a few, but from another state, and she had such a different perspective than I did. And we learned from one another, but that would have been a missed opportunity if I'd been like, okay, that's your side of the room, and I don't talk to you, you don't talk to me. That would have been a foolish mistake. So we have an opportunity at institution to learn from one another, and amazing professors as well as that. So I would say, just on that humanistic tip, let's just be a little bit nice and smile, ask, can I support you? And then on the other end of the spectrum, let's get involved. That's the beauty of college too. You can create, I work at an institution as well, and I love it because you have a power. There's power in this room. You have a voice on a college campus. And you can create change. I mean, we look at Martin Luther King and we say, okay, we see him many times as one person, but he was a community organizer. There were many after him and besides him. So here we have an opportunity to be community organizers, go into causes, whether it's the Black Lives Movement, whether it's the Me Too movement, or it's the movement you're creating. But we cannot be complacent and say that's someone else's issue. Because that's energy that we're just wasting. I don't know what time is, but I feel like I went over my time. So I'm going to hop towards the end of my speech and say that, regardless of what you choose to do as a major, you want to be a nurse, you want to be an artist, you want to be a lawyer, whatever it is, I feel like you need to look at it as being peace partitioners. How is whatever you're trying to do going to impact our world in this love army, if you will? And I also feel like we are all here have a calling. And that calling I know is aligned with love. Because whatever you want to do, it makes you feel good, like, oh, I'm going to be the best. That is not indifferent to love. It comes from a place of love. So when we look at it that way, use that, whatever that piece is in the sentence, towards that same resolution of social justice, of love as well. So I'm going to end with a poem that I wrote called Calling, and that I hope that you next time think about your major and say, how can I use this to create more love in the world? Calling. The sun rises along with my soul, pushing on my cells to grow. to release this intuitive molecular message that has no form but its own, unique as a raindrop, abundant as the rainforest, rich rooted in the soil of our universe, metamorphosis of past lives, genders, names, locations, tsunami gravitational pull of many, many moons ago, pushing on this warrior message with the urgency of right now, right here in this present moment, to manifest this ancestral calling, divine light of love before sunsets. So that is the end of my piece. I hope that you enjoyed my poetry and got something out of my message. I do have a website. You can know a little bit about me, and I also have the book that I am raffling off, Essence Tones, Whispers and Shouts. It's available on Amazon. And